Hello again, not from my front porch, but actually from the Coon Rapids Cemetery in Coon Rapids, Iowa.
Dark here?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
They don't really need. They don't
I
really
got
need
my
to see.
sunglasses on. That's why it's kind of dark, I guess.
Ta-da! There you are.
Yay! The sun came out.
Wow.
What do you know? Wow. It's only like 105 today or something here.
No, it's only 97.
Oh,
It's
feels like 105.
and in the shade.
Yeah.
So we're here actually at the Coon Rapids because it's Memorial Day weekend, and so my parents and I, we've been going around stopping at family grave sites and leaving flowers and family member stuff. But we're here in Coon Rapids because this is where my dad's grandparents, well, actually several members of my dad's family, the Heaters and the Tituses, and they're all actually, most of them are right here on this hillside right here. But the reason that we're here for this specific one is because there's quite a story dealing with his grandmother Martha Heater, who is actually right here, right behind us. This is Martha Heater, and Martha and her husband Louis Friedeline Heater. He actually went by Freet, but so they're buried there. But I wanted my dad to share this interesting story, and then as he's telling the story, I'm going to insert some images or some video of some of the pieces he's talking about here. But Dad, tell us about what happened. Now she passed away in 1960, and it was in the dead of winter. It's very snowy winter.
It's either February or March, right in that area, and we'd had snowstorm.
And you were about 10 years old at the time.
Yeah, and this is, as you know, we'll show you anyway. This is on a pretty steep hill, and the undertaker had his hearse, and he always had come up in the cemetery. God knows the only reason they used it for a cemetery, they couldn't farm it or anything, so they used it for a cemetery, I think. But he said he always put chains on the hearse, and he'd always come right through. Well, he went down at the station to have him put the chains on, and the fellow at the station said, "Oh, no, you don't need tire chains. We got these new all-season snow tires. They'll go any place the chains will go." So he sold him these tires. Well, on the way out here, up in the cemetery here, he got about 3/4 of the way up here to where he should have turned and came up to unload the casket, and he couldn't make it any further up the hill. The hearse got stalled on the road.
Now this cemetery, a lot of cemeteries are fairly flat, maybe some gradual hills. This cemetery has some steep hills. And so I'm going to be showing you just how this actual hill. Now right now it's the middle of summer. It's 90 some degrees. So there's not. But imagine when you see this. Imagine this hill, but covered under packed snow and even icy kind of conditions. And then you can start to see where it really seems more like a slide than a road.
Anyway, okay, back to what happened was this hearse stalled, couldn't get up the hill, so they stopped. Now she was a fairly good-sized lady, and so they had six pallbearers, fellas. They picked farmers. I think it was pretty husky guys. So he said, "Well, we'll just have to carry her." Now I don't know if Paul can show you or will show you, but from here over to a place where you'll see a shed, a block shed that wasn't there at that time, but it's there now, and just beyond it, a little bit to the right, is where it was stalled, and this story all really started out. It was funny. They went around, they opened up the back of the hearse to take out the casket.
The hearse, which is on an incline.
Yeah,
it stopped on an uphill
steep
road.
incline. They opened the door, and when they opened the door and tripped the thing, the casket comes slamming out of the back of the hearse.
Because it was a big metal casket.
Yeah, steel. Steel casket. He says, good thing it was steel too, because we'll show you, the thing went for about 3/4 of a block down this hill, right down the roadway on the rock, and the snow just a-flying, and boy did it go. And it just sent the pallbearers flying when it come out of there. It went down at the bottom of the hill, and they had cleaned these roads off with some kind of a snow plow that time, and apparently he'd cleaned it off and went down the hill. He would have had to pushed it, and he made a big snowbank right at the bottom.
There's a T intersection at the bottom there.
Right at the bottom of that road at that intersection. And that casket went flying down the center of that road, hit that snowbank, and went, it had to go over 2 feet into that big snowbank. The snow just flew. Now, if it had went about a half a block more, she'd have landed in the Raccoon River.
Ooh.
It was right on beyond. So anyway, the funny part was come out there. Used to have this Uncle Vernon, which had been my mother's younger brother, and he was a kind of a character always. Now at that time he's about 20 years old, and he just had gotten married, and he's standing there by my mother, and this casket comes out of the hearse and takes off down the hill on the road, and Vernon, he's standing there saying, "Look at her go! Look at her go! Boy, she's going!" My mother, she was shocked and hurt because her mother was in that casket going down the hill, and his wife was saying, "Vernon, Vernon, Vernon." Yeah, and I'm kind of shocked, but I'm thinking it's funny too. So anyway, we're going to try to show you what really how it was like, and you'll they said if it hadn't been a steel casket, it would have probably busted all to pieces.
And that would have been an even worse thing.
It tore. I know my dad's suit got tore up, his pant legs, and
because he was one of the pallbearers that got blown away when it slid out of the
they tried
hearse.
to hang on to it, and it just
tried to stop it.
It just took them, strung them down that hill there. But the Undertaker,
another guy you said sprained his knee and stuff, and they all got banged up pretty good from that.
But the funeral director, Mr. Coder was his name at that time. He was so sorry, and he was so upset about it happening, and mad at the guy at the station, and hurt because this had happened. And so he said, okay, he paid for anybody that had any wrecked clothes or any doctor bills to go uptown to see Dr. Johnson uptown at the office, and he'd pay all the bills. And I think I remember right, he gave my dad about $40 to buy a new suit with. Well, you could buy a new suit for about $25. I'm sure my dad didn't pay for any more than that for a suit, but he gave him $40 and said, well, if you got any skinned up place there, you see the doctor, and I'll foot all the bill. We was talking coming down here to take this, and I'll bet when he got back to that guy that sold him the tires, I'll bet he got it chewing. But he was so upset.
I wondered if maybe this Undertaker didn't take all those bills that he'd paid. This might other people, and slapped him down at the tire dealer and said, "You're paying these bills."
I don't know, but it wasn't anything that the fellow should really been laughing about, but it was a funny thing to see, you know. Kind of remind you like the Stooges or something, you know.
Well, and I said, first time he told me the story, I was like, to me that sounds like something you'd see in a movie or something, you know, like some weird comedy kind of thing. But no, this is real life. This actually, and he saw it. He witnessed this happen. Now. With the story, the casket plowed into the snowbank, but then to bring it all the way up to here, and I'm going to show you the perspective of just how far this is. But what happened then?
Well, then there was 8 guys went down to pull this casket out of the snowbank, and then they
now remember, these are guys dressed to attend a funeral, not to be out in the winter trudging in the snow.
And they carried it. Instead of coming up the steep road, they cut right up across the cemetery, right through this draw, and brought it up here on this hill to where the grave is.
There's a long way to carry a steel casket with a heavier set lady in it, in the snow.
In the snow. Snow was probably, I'm going to say, it was probably about, anywhere between 4 and 6 inches deep.
Whoa.
You know, and... But the snowplow had went over the roads, you know, at that time.
But they were slick.
Yeah, and see, they're gravel. They're just like they were then.
Yeah.
And he just had smoothed it on, made it a little slicker probably, you know. But that casket, you couldn't have drove it any straighter. Right down the center of that road it went, and boy, the further it went, the faster the thing went.
It's just a good thing that snow embankment was there, because like you said, the casket would have wound up in the river.
Because beyond that T intersection, it drops again going to the river.
And it picked up even more speed.
Yeah. Oh, snow flew, I'm going to say, guessing today, I'm going to say it probably flew 10 feet in the air when she hit that snowbank. But I guess it didn't hurt the casket any, they said. Skinned it up.
Well, they got their money's worth out of the casket.
Yeah. But Anyway, she's been buried there since 1960, I guess it says.
We're here. We stopped. We put some flowers on the gravesite, just as we did with several others. In fact, we stopped at Victoria's gravesite first. I took pictures of these, so I might as well mention them. We stopped at Victoria's gravesite first, cleaned it up a little bit, and my mom added another little angel figurine. We also did kind of a little walking tour of the Babyland Cemetery where Victoria is. There's several other infants that were buried there. They're not buried with family members, and some of them had some stuff that had gotten blown over or some damaged stuff, and we kind of did a quick little cleanup of some others too while we were there. Then we went over to Scranton and saw your mom and dad, and we stopped and put flowers for their grave site as well. Then we went over to Cooper. I told my siblings the wrong town, and so I want to say it right here. We went over to Cooper for my mom's family over there, and over there is her mom and her dad, three of her brothers, and her sister Donna, that are all buried there. And actually, ironically, when I showed up at my mom and dad's house this morning, my mom was on the phone with her baby brother Jim. Her and Jim are the last two, and so it's interesting that she and Jim were talking to each other, and now we just went and visited all the rest of her family that at the cemetery too, all in the same day. But anyway, so we wrapped it up with coming here to Coon Rapids for this great story. So thank you for sharing the story. It's a fun story. Get that bug off you there. But not very often can you say there's a fun story about a funeral, but this is a unique event.
It was. You just had to see it. And I remember just like standing here looking at it down through. I remember just almost just like it just happened yesterday, but because I was young and I thought, boy, this is one of the funniest things I've seen.
Well, it clearly left an impression.
Yeah, there goes Grandma.
All right, well, I'm going to let you go. Thank you again for sharing the story, and I'll see you next time from my front porch.